everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 449. The Red Stain. Intermediate. In a small English village hidden by thick trees and endless fog lived a woman named Clara. She was old, with grey hair like spider webs and eyes that stared too long. The villagers whispered about her. They said she never left her crooked house at the edge of the woods. They said the house smelled of wet earth and something sour. But no one dared to visit until Tom, a young man with too much courage, decided to find out the truth. It was a cold October night, the kind where the wind bites your skin. Tom walked through the dark forest, his boots crunching on dead leaves. The moon was a thin sliver, barely lighting his way. He carried a torch, its weak yellow beam shaking in his hand. When he reached Clara's house, the windows were black, like empty eyes. The wooden door hung loose, creaking as the wind pushed it back and forth. Tom knocked. No answer. He pushed the door open and stepped inside. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of rot. His torch flickered, showing walls covered in strange red stains. They looked wet, as if something had been smeared there moments ago. He called out, "Clara, are you here?" His voice echoed, but the house stayed silent. He moved deeper, his heart pounding like a drum. In the kitchen he found a table covered with jars. Each jar was filled with a dark, sticky liquid. Some had bits floating inside, things that looked like fingers or teeth. Tom gagged, his stomach twisting. He turned to leave, but then he heard it, a slow, wet, dragging sound coming from upstairs. Against his better sense, he climbed the stairs. Each step groaned under his weight. At the top, a long hallway stretched into darkness. The dragging sound grew louder, closer. His torch caught something, a trail of red smeared along the floor, leading to a door at the end. His hands shook as he reached for the handle. The door opened with a scream of rusty hinges. Inside was Clara, or what was left of her. She sat in a rocking chair, her head tilted back, her mouth open in a silent scream. Her skin was grey and peeling, like old paint. Her eyes were gone, just black holes, dripping with that same red liquid. But she wasn't alone. Something moved behind her, a shape too tall, too thin, with arms that bent in wrong places. Its skin was wet and shiny, like a slug. It had no face, just a wide, grinning mouth full of sharp, jagged teeth. Tom froze. The thing turned its head towards him, its mouth stretching wider. A low, gurgling laugh filled the room. Then it lunged. Tom stumbled back, dropping his torch. The light went out and the darkness swallowed him. He ran, tripping down the stairs, the sounds of those dragging limbs chasing him. He felt hot breath on his neck, claws brushing his coat. He burst out of the house and kept running, the forest a blur around him. Branches scratched his face, drawing blood, but he didn't stop until he reached the village. Gasping, he told the others what he'd seen. They didn't believe him. They laughed and called him mad. But that night the fog grew thicker, and a red stain appeared on the village well. The next morning Tom was gone. His bed was empty, his window open. On the floor was a single red smear, still wet. The villagers never spoke of him again, but sometimes on quiet nights they heard it, a slow, wet, dragging sound, moving closer. Vocabulary notes. Crooked. Definition: bent or twisted out of shape, not straight. Example: they said she never left her crooked house at the edge of the woods. Explanation: in the story, crooked describes Clara's house, suggesting it looks old, uneven, and strange, adding to the spooky atmosphere. Similar words: bent. The old tree was bent by years of strong winds. Twisted. The twisted branches scratched at the windows. Warped. The warped door wouldn't close properly. Rot. Definition: the process of decaying or going bad, often with a bad smell. Can be a noun or verb. Example: the air was heavy, thick with the smell of rot. Explanation: here, rot is a noun describing the unpleasant smell inside Clara's house, hinting at something dead or dying. Similar words: decay. The decay of the old fruit filled the room with a sour stench. Mould. Green mould grew on the damp walls. Spoil. The meat had begun to spoil in the heat. Smear. Definition: a mark or streak made by rubbing or spreading something, often messy. Can be a noun or verb. Example: his torch caught something, a trail of red smeared along the floor. Explanation: smeared is the past tense of the verb, describing how the red liquid was spread messily on the floor, creating a creepy image. Similar words: stain. A dark stain marked the old carpet. Streak. Streaks of mud covered his boots. Spread. She spread paint across the wall with her hands. Gagged. Definition: to choke or retch because of a bad smell or feeling of sickness. Past tense of the verb gag. Example: Tom gagged, his stomach twisting. Explanation: gagged shows Tom's physical reaction to the horrible sight and smell of the jars, emphasizing the story's gruesome tone. Similar words: retch. The smell made her retch uncontrollably. Choke. He choked on the thick, dusty air. Heave. Her stomach heaved at the sight of the blood. Lunged. Definition: move forward suddenly and quickly, often to attack. Past tense of the verb lunge. Example: then it lunged. Explanation: lunged describes the creature's sudden aggressive movement toward Tom, building tension and fear in the scene. Similar words: leapt. The cat leapt at the mouse. Pounced. The tiger pounced on its prey. Dashed. He dashed toward the door to escape. Gurgling. Definition: a low bubbling sound like liquid moving. Can be an adjective or verb, present participle. Example: a low gurgling laugh filled the room. Explanation: gurgling describes the creature's eerie laugh, making it sound wet and unnatural, which adds to the horror. Similar words: bubbling. The pot made a bubbling noise as it boiled. Gushing. Water came gushing out of the pipe. Rumbling. A rumbling sound echoed from the cave. Story written by Grok 3 AI. Image created by Grok 3 AI. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you.